Hello, everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker Training. I'm here at fmtraining.tv, where today is a really unusual day. So we have the normal scheduled mayhem that normally goes on. Let me just jump right into that. If I go to the fmtraining.tv website right here, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. There we go. We can see that across the top of the website, you can see live training, courses, bundles. If you want to support the channel, we greatly recommend or request that you purchase one of the bundles. We really appreciate you supporting the channel because it's how we pay to keep people on the show. As a reminder, if you hit the live training button coming up, today is Wolfpack, where Kristian Olsen will be here with Stu and Calvin, and a whole bunch of people. Some of you are contributors. You help with the world in the FileMaker community. So whenever some of you come up with really great things in the community, we greatly appreciate that. And we want to encourage you. And so if you want to come on the show and talk about the thing that you did to help the community, then you're welcome to do that. We just schedule it and bring you on the show. So that is today. Very exciting.
Kristian, what is Wolfpack? Why are we here? And why is it cool? And why is it updated?
Absolutely. So most of you here probably already know what Wolfpack is because we've got regular subscribers. If you don't, some years ago at this point, Claris added the ability for us to package up bits of FileMaker code into an add-on and install this stuff into other files. This is great because there's probably things where you're like, I have built this specific little entity 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times, and you don't want to keep building it. You want to work on bigger and better things. And so you can package all that stuff up and make it a single move or, couple steps to bring it into a file. So I started making my own add-ons, but the problem that I had is I would come back to them a couple months later and forget how to set them up. So I needed some instructions to remind myself how to do it. Once I shared this with Richard, he said, let's go bring this to community. So Richard gave me a little bit of money. We made a good deal. And from there, I really wanted to encourage others to make add-ons. And I'll tell you, my dream has really kind of come true with this, because as much as I like my own add-ons, we've started to have people like Jake Scheel and Calvin, and now even Stu and other people on our streams that I'm not mentioning submit different add-ons. So it's like Kyle Williams. I'm still blanking, not Dwight, but we got another person in there, Leland. There we go. So we've had a number of people actually bring us these add-ons. And so today is X10, actually. This is our 10th release of it. We did X9 earlier this year, and I've actually already got some things scheduled for later this year. So it's going to be a pretty active year for Wolfpack. I've got another developer who hasn't come on before that's going to maybe give us one, and I have some updates. So slide tabs, if you guys have ever used it by me, has a very minor update in that instead of a variable per layout per window, it's a single variable, and it's instead organized by layout name and window number. This was encouraged to me by Calvin, who kept saying, please make this a single variable. So I'll do an official re-release on that later. Today is not about my add-ons. This is actually about Calvin and Stu. Calvin's got an update to the left-hand navigation. We're going to start with him in just a moment. And this is what I'm really excited about. I literally start every new project now by showing clients how cool this add-on is and suggest that they use it or forcibly push them that direction, because I just find it to be a better way to organize the navigation in applications like Starting Point. But you don't have to have a Starting Point. And then Stu, I think your story is actually the coolest. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but Nick made something that was really neat, how we relate records to other tables. Then Calvin took Nick's cool stuff and made it more modular. And then you took that and you made it into an add-on, so it's even easier to install in files. Is that right?
That's exactly right. I have to give all the credit to Calvin. He was able to show me that there was a solution that I was racking my brains over how to solve that I'll talk about when we go through it. And so I stole it and turned it into an add-on, and it's incredibly helpful.
Well, to me, again, I can't, like, from the bottom of my heart, this to me makes me smile so much about it, because to me, the goal of Wolfpack was always to be something that's communally based. I love Nick's little slide tabs with the button bar and the slide control. So that was one of my very first add-ons that I use a lot. And then Calvin came by and was like, I like your add-on, but it's ugly. And he went and gave it that neomorphism look, and now that's the one that I use. So I like the fact that Calvin can steal from Nick, Stu, you can steal from Calvin, and then Wolfpack is a great way to bring it all together. So like I said, today isn't about me. It's about these guys. Calvin, do you want to jump in and show people what this update's all about?
Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen.
You want
So I have the Wolfpack here, and I'm just going to select, and here's the update to the left navigation card, and I'm going to install it. And I'll select install. It's going to think about this for a little bit. I forgot it's going to quit. It's going to take me out of FileMaker, isn't it? So I'll say OK. And it's going to quit FileMaker on me. And now the demo file that I'm using is this new copy of FM starting point. So this is you'll see this one is the, currently I have the old version of the navigation in here. And if we scroll to the end, we can see our navigation. We've got the navigation layouts here. And so what I'm going to do is go into, so you can pretend this is if this is your app, you'll want to export all of those records first. And maybe we'll do that real quick. So let's just go open this, and I'm going to say File, Export, Records. So if you're already using this and you want to save these for the future, for after you install the new version, you could do that. I'll call this one Backup. We'll just save it to the desktop, and I'm going to grab everything here and just move it over and export. So now we've got the backup right there. And now when I go into layout mode, I'm going to select the add-on and just remove it. I say uninstall add-on. Hopefully this doesn't break everything. Say uninstall. And since it's local, that worked pretty fast. So let's go ahead and we already installed the add-on on this computer. So let's reinstall it here. So I'm going to say navigation. I'll choose this one. It's going to think about this for a minute. And there we go. So now we got the new version in here. I'm going to put this button back in the header. Browse. And you'll see the new version has badges. I'm really excited about that. So, and there's some new layout options as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at how these badges work. So for each of these record items, we have a field called badge. And right now, I just have these numbers hard-coded in here. But what you could do is, and you could have this reference a variable. So you could say, this is the staff badge. And so now when we go back and look over here, we'll see the staff, and maybe the staff isn't active. I'm not sure if this feature was in the last version, but we have the ability to make these active or inactive. So you'll see some of these aren't displaying, some of them are. And that's based on whether they're active or not. So now we have staff appearing. But we don't have a badge there. So let's go ahead and open up our data viewer. And you would usually have a script in the background calculating these badges for you for whatever reason you might want. I'm going to say let, and we'll call this one staff badge equals 33. So I'm just using the let statement to set my global variable. Say evaluate. There it ran. Close that. And so now I have the badge with a 33. And so there's a few other view options in the navigation itself. So let me go ahead and so we can focus on the navigation. I'm just going to move all of the FMSP scripts into a single folder, and we'll focus on the nav. So there we go. Do we have any questions or anything before we dive into these options?
I think you're good to go.
Okay. So when you open it, when you start, if you use this in your app, the script that you're going to want to call in your startup script is this one called navigation setup on first window open. And here we have the ability to define which layout we want to use. And so right now it defaults to this card window. So if I run this, I'll say save. It defaults to this card, and actually it puts the search in here too. So now we have a search. And that was something Kristian requested. So when he does something nice like put all the variables in one, consolidate all the variables in his navigation, I like to be nice and add the search that he asked for.
You have to pay Calvin's troll toll.
Something like that. So, but if we change this, the navigation layout to, say, this accordion style, and we'll see how this works. Oh, we have to run the script, I'm sorry. And now we'll try it. So now we've got the accordion style here. And you'll notice there's still some bugs in the, what is this called? In the add-ons. And you'll see that it duplicated a whole bunch of the layout objects on this particular layout. So we would need to go in and delete those. We can take a look at that in a bit. But
I think too, people watch your original video. We've had this issue with the duplicating objects. So,
yeah. So let's try a different one. See if this one has any problems. This one. Oh, and I need to run this again. Let's go ahead and run this. So this one has some problems, but not quite as many. And this is supposed to look more like the classic, what is it called? FM starting point look, where it's the dark background. So, but this one looks a little better than that last one. That's another option. And but those options were all included in the last version. And we've got one new option that Nick, this is another one I got from Nick. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. And this is what we call the 2-tier option. And since we're going to take a look at this one, I'm going to go into layout mode and delete these extra objects. And so we'll see here, we got these weird, oh, it's an extra circles for some reason. Let's go to our objects and see if that fixed it. There we go. That looks better. And so here, now if we open this up, we've got this 2-tier navigation. And, oh, it closed on me. I must have hit the exit option. So here we go. Oh, I need to run that startup script. So let's go ahead and run this. Now we've got the 2-tier. Now, if I select the tier, one of these tiers, it opens up a secondary tier that you can see additional options on. Let's go ahead and delete those extra layout objects on the. We did tier 1. We'll do tier 2 now.
So Calvin, when you click for the second tier to open, you're not actually opening a second window. Are you just making the layout wider? Is that what's visually going on there?
We're actually going to a new.
It is. So the layout one is is the first column, and tier 2 is the dual column.
Yeah, I'm not going to go spend a bunch of time cleaning that up. So let's go ahead and just look at it in here. So this is the original file that is all clean here, and let's go to enable the 2-tier version and show how this works. So when I select demo, there you see. So you can arrow up and down. And when you select return on one of these, it expands it. So it expands it to show you the second tier. And now the first time I saw this, I thought, oh, that's kind of like, who needs to have an extra tier for a list in a detail view? I just want to select the item. And then I had a client that had somewhere between 50 and 100 buttons on their home screen. And I thought, you know what we really need? I need Nick Hunter's 2-tier navigation. And this just works out perfectly for that. So we can categorize them and bring them in this 2-tier option and select the different items. But once you select it, remembers where you selected the last time you selected on the navigation and highlights it with this really nice highlight with a gradient blue. But as far as how it works in the background, what it's doing when it pulls these up, it's pretty much the same as before. Let me open up this manage. And we do have, I think I mentioned, this active is a new option, and the badges are a new option in there. Do we have any questions up to this point?
Nope, not at the moment.
Okay, so the next thing I'd like to show is something that I think is just really cool. A client of mine had a set of, and you probably have a table like this in your app, where the records in the app don't change very often, but you have to see them quite a bit. But you're not adding details. It's just like a category or something, or a list view. And you select an item to go navigate to other places. And what I realized is that I was spending all this time sorting these records, and sometimes a client or a user would somehow navigate there in some strange way, and it wouldn't trigger the sort, and then everything would be out of order. And I realized what we could do is delete everything from the table and sort the records in the order we wanted, and then re-import them. So what I did in this app is I added this ability to change the sort order, and save it so that the sort order matches the creation order. So here you'll see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's sorted right now. Let's go ahead and say unsort. Say unsort. And you'll notice 1, 2, and I just messed around with them. So it goes 1, 2, 5, 3, 4. And so there's not quite an order. Let's mess it up a little bit more. So we're going to move this one, move assets up to the list here. And let's go ahead and once more unsort it. So now you see our order is messed up again here. So what I have done now, though, is there's this new Save Sort Order button. What this does is it sorts the records in the order you want, exports all the records, and then re-imports them in the order that you defined. And that way, even without a sort command, you have them in the right order. So let's go ahead and I'll walk through this so you can see it, because it's pretty simple. So here we step into, it sorts the records, exports the records, re-imports the records. So now we've got this new 17 records, shows only the omitted ones, the ones we just exported, deletes all of those, and then does the sort so that we have these sub-summaries. But watch this. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's all in order all the way down. And if I go to, if I Command S, we'll bring up the sort. I'll say unsort. We're still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. And using this, we can have these navigation options without dealing with the sort, which actually makes those records load faster. As long as we don't need to have a sub-summary. Any questions about that?
Are the icons still PNG or SVG, excuse me.
So good question. So we use SVGs when we are in layout mode with the button, this button tool. So these would be SVGs. Or you can actually use PNGs in here as well. But if you want to have all the color flexibility and such, you would want to use an SVG. But in here, we actually have two container fields, one for a light icon and one for a dark icon. And these are, you can put whatever you want in there, but these are all PNGs for, in this case. And the only place that's referenced, which you could make your own layout that's a dark mode or a light mode using either of those buttons, But the only place I'm using both of them, you'll notice when this is highlighted, we see the light icon. When it's not highlighted, we see the dark icon. So that's where it's we're using both of those, which I like how that looks. And but eventually, I'm sure I'm going to make a dark mode that uses the light colors and such. Another thing that's in here that I forgot I added. Also, I added this for Kristian. This arrow up and down, so you can change the sort order by just selecting the arrow up or down to move these. So staff is number 5, arrow up, now it's number 4, arrow up again, now it's number 3. And we can't arrow up again because this is a category.
You also added the active button for me. That was one of my big wish list items.
I did. And now I'm realizing you probably owe me something for all this work. I think I've done more for you.
Well, and I tell you, I've showed a lot of people this add-on, and most of the time I configure it, but when I'd be doing coaching sessions and we'd install it, right off the bat, we'd have to delete a whole bunch of these. But I'm like, really? They're placeholders? And then trying to move them up and down, I could figure it out, but some of our clients, it was a little bit harder. But I wanted that active button because I would add it to your add-on every time. So I'm really pleased you've saved me just a little bit of time.
Oh, good. Another thing that I've added that somebody, I don't remember who it was asking questions about the sort order on here because they were having a hard time adding new records. So I added this. We've got these 2 plus buttons. One of them, if you select the lower one, it adds a subsequent record. If you select the above one, it adds a previous record. So you can insert a record anywhere in that sort order so you don't have to put it in and then enter an order number and try to fix the sort order. That's and when you do this, it also categorizes it based on whatever category you're viewing. And if one thing that's different between so we were looking at this 2-tier option. The one thing that's different between my version of this and Nick's is that because I was building it on the framework of this existing navigation, this is only using one table. And so these categories, the fact that this is a category is what makes it a display up here, or the fact that it's a main item versus using one layout for the primary items and secondary layout for the secondary items. I'm going to go ahead and delete these 2. Any questions, any comments?
Nope, I think we're good to go. Also, people asking, is Wolfpack updated? Yes, it is. So the new link, the link is updated. Version 10 should be available for download. So.
Okay. So I think that's about all I had to show here for the navigation.
Well, Calvin, that's really neat. I think that some of those things are really subtle, but as people use it, they'll like it a lot. Like the active checkbox, super useful. I think the arrows also are going to make this more appealing to some of the people that when they first get it, it's a little confusing. But yeah. I think what you've done with the whole export imports, you don't sort the records. Like people might not necessarily be picking up on the subtlety, but that is so clever. I'm pretty excited. And I like that you showed how we could update this because I was wondering that. I've got this installed in a lot of my customer files. If I show this, that's the first question they're going to ask me. How do I update it? So yeah, great job on that.
I guess we could finish updating it. So so this is the old record or the new records that were included in the add-on. Let's go ahead and go to manage. Manage. So this has instead of having the original ones that I had in here, this has other ones. I'm going, and you'll notice that by having all the badge information and all of the dark icons. So I will select import. Let's hope this works. I'll select my backup, say open. And we're going to say matching names. And for the most part, that looks good. I'm going to say import. Okay. And it deleted the other items that I didn't have. So this export would be for the future when we update again. You could but the import, as long as you have a backup saved from your existing settings, you can just import that right back in there, and you'll see that's what we have right here.
Too cool.
That the only other item is that we'd need to clean up some of these layouts that didn't translate the best from what is it called, through the add-on.
Okay. Oh, we've got a quick question. Can you show
Yeah.
the script for the plus button? Curious how you change the sort order for the new record. Replace field contents? Question mark.
I believe it is a replace fields content. So if I do a if I do the plus button, it's running the same script, and based on the parameter, which is it's a minus or a plus. So that's telling us if based on the order of the record that we have, whether it's going to go in front or behind. It saves the order, but then it changes uses the script parameter to add or delete 0.05 or 0.5 from the order. So, and then assigns the category as well. So there it saves all that information. And I'm trying to remember what record number does. Go back over here, record number. It's just remembering, it remembers the record number so it can navigate back to where it needs to go. So it creates the new record, and you'll notice the sort order is 89. Well, that's not good. Well, that's not what we want. It sets the category, and then it sets the order to 2.5, which is 0.5 less than 3, because we want it to come above 3. And then here, it's running the script update navigation order, which is the on-object trigger for the order field itself. And so this is in the previous version, saves the record, sorts the records, and then does a replace field contents to get those back into numerical order, and then sorts it. Then it saves the record number, and it will go to, in this case, the record 3, and then navigate to the title field so you can put in the title.
Yep, Lynn says that answers their question. AL92, what does the category and main do again? Question mark.
Yeah, so you'll notice here on exit is a main item and home is a main item. And then you'll notice each of these categories are, and you can't actually select the category. The category is a calculation based on the title matching a name in the category value list. So this is how you manage the order of your categories. So say we want people to be at the end, we can put people at the end. And so now when we say sort, it puts the people down here at the end. And if we just put in this number, once again, it will update those numbers. So the category defines the category value list defines the order in which these appear, in which the categories appear, and then the order number defines where what the order of those items within the category. Now, a main item, if I open up another layout, we'll see some of the layouts use the main option and some of them don't. So let's go ahead and look at a few of these. So here, I'm sorry, let's go back to the original file. And so here, this one, everything is kept in one item, and you'll notice here we're hiding anything that's not a. There's the scroll. This is the most basic option. That was actually the original layout. In this one, so you'll see the home and exit are main items. We want them to appear all the time. But then we have these other ones that are categories that have subsequent items within them. That's where that comes from. And then what else do we have here? So here, this one, it works in this layout, it will hide all the categories. and just use the sub-summaries as to display the categories. And then the home will and the exit are just kept in all the time. And then the only other one is the 2-tier. In this case, we will have the home and exit always there, and then only the categories will display in this list when we run the load script. So it's just whenever there's subcategories, it's keeping the main option, keeps it on the first as one of the first options without it being a category.
Cool. I think that answers that question. So,
yeah, and so one thing Kristian's mentioned a couple times is that it's not really easy to figure out. And to be honest, I kind of made this for myself in my projects, and then I thought, somebody might be interested, and apparently Kristian was. And so every time I've implemented this for another client, I just work on it and change it just a little bit more to see what other ideas come up. But yeah, trying to make it a little more usable at this point.
Well, if there's no other questions, I want to make sure we have time for Stu to jump in, because Stu, you got a lot to show us.
I think I could probably manage here.
If you got to go over a little bit too. Calvin, thank you. I'm excited to get in there and find more stuff to ask you to add to it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Whenever you're ready, Stu, go ahead and share your screen. And
all right, here. All right. So a little bit of background on this. I mentioned that Calvin had a webinar back right before Christmas 2021. And I was going back looking for some old stuff. And I realized that his modular search would allow me to solve an issue that had been scratching in my head for a while. And that was, I had a client who had an employee that went to a new client of theirs, let's call them XYZ company. And we had a drop down list that would pre-fill based on what you typed in. He typed in XYZ company and didn't see it. So he created a new account in the database, and he didn't realize that it was actually the XYZ company, and drop-down lists only looked for something at the beginning of the field. So then looking through Calvin's modular search, I realized that by using quick search, I would have solved that problem and prevented him from creating a new one. So as I was working through it, I realized as well that using a card, you can use a card window to simulate a drop-down list. And I'll show you what that looks like. So on the Wolfpack, we've had several instances of how to go about installing it. So I've already installed the add-on in this demo file here. And so I'm just going to go ahead and walk through and just mostly about how to configure it. The previous webinar from back in 2021, Calvin did a great job of explaining all the different options that he built in. And then I'll focus on more of the additional options that I've added for it. So with this, we'll go ahead and install the add-on, and it's the modular search with dropdown. And it's fairly straightforward. You drop it down, and there are 3 different options on this particular one. And for most of your layouts, you'll only have one of these 3. I'm going to demonstrate 2 of them. If we have time, I can demonstrate the third one. The third one is essentially the same thing that Calvin had done with his. But I'll walk through these first 2 are the 2 additional ones that I added. So with this, just ungroup and delete the ones you don't want. And in this case, I use terminology in here, parent and children, and that'll become more relevant for the second add-on, or the second example. For this one, what we're doing is people, we're going to add a company to people, and we want to use a drop down for it. So in this case, we're on the people, and I'm going to add company for the field name. Next, I will, adds a couple of windows. The one that we're going to look for is the fully searchable dropdown. And this is going to actually be, we're going to be doing searching for companies. So I'll name it companies, and we're going to show it from the companies table. And now I'm going to go in, and the button here covers it up. So I always hide that so I can get access to the field here. And this field is just going to be the company name. And you can also add any additional things that you're going to filter on, such as you may do filters on ID company, something along those lines. So I'll throw that out here on the side as well. All right. And that's all you need to do on the drop down here. The search goes to a global field that's in a dedicated table just for this. So the only thing you need to do is just update the table and add the name. Add the field. So in addition to this, we call the windows from the actual ID. So I like to use the Monkey Bread software. It adds in this the ID of the layouts. So this layout, first one we're going to use is 17, and the second one is 18. So just need to find out what that is and come back to our original layout where we dropped it off. So here, the way that I've set this up is it's actually on a script trigger. When you enter this, it's going to pop up the window. So here I go, and I need to edit the parameters. So the parameters here look very complicated. There's a lot to them, and quite frankly, every time I use it, I have to remind myself what they are. I've tried to put a lot of documentation in here about which ones are useful for which. And so hopefully it's self-explanatory. So I'll just delete.
And Stu, to chime in on that, just to give you and other people a heads up on this. So I actually use this add-on on a real customer file. I mentioned this to you offline. But for those of you watching that are looking at this parameter right now and thinking it's a little bit overwhelming, give your chance yourself to kind of go in there. Stu's done a really good job documenting this. The primary variables that you need to set are at the top. And the engineer who's really helped me put this into my customer file is a junior engineer with not a lot of experience. And so while some of this stuff's a little bit overwhelming, you wrote this in such a way that I think that people actually can get in here without too much work and start to figure out what's going on. If anything, it's trickier right now through Zoom just because of the resolution jamming everything together. But I would recommend when people open this up, Stu's really organized this well. It's clear and concise and easy to read.
Yeah, I did that mostly for myself because I found at my age, I just don't trust my memory anymore. So with this, I'm going to show you, maybe I'll show you here. Let me get a little space here on the, all right, now I can't even.
The giant resolution's tricky, isn't it?
It is. I'm not used to working on such a small one here, but in the instructions for the in Wolfpack, we've got, the way I've laid it out is the initial setup. Then then I've got 3 different pages. One for if we're going to do a drop down field. Second, if you're going to do the next one, if you're going to do a dialog window or a card when you're saving the parent to the children. And the third one is if you're saving the children to the parent. So those kind of slightly different options there. And then the last one is just a reminder, hey, if you want your things sorted in a certain way, you need to go in and update that as well. But I wanted to show you what those look like. So for a drop-down field, these are the things that you're going to have to update. So let me go back in here and set the script triggers. And on these first 2 lines, I just added these because I found that it's helpful to have an example in here. Whoops. of examples of the types of fields that you may have. All of these will line up with what we're going to walk through here. But in order to do that, I had to comment everything out. So get rid of the comment lines, and then also all the way at the bottom. Okay. So here we've got, in order to do the drop-down field, we have to set the search set field. And in this case, that's the search set field is the field on the original layout that we're going to set. And in this case, we're going to be setting the people and with the field ID of company. The trigger field object name is the name of that field, of the edit box, and the default is just trigger field. And you can just leave it that if you're only going to have one. If you've got more than one of these on a particular layout, then obviously you need to go in and align the trigger field object name with the script parameter, so it knows which one it's going to. The search return field, that's the one that when we go to the search window, what field are we going to send back? And in this case, it's the ID company. And here's where we do the layout ID. So for layout ID, we're going to be using 17. With the window type, so we've got, if you want a dialog window, you set it to 0, a card window is 1, and this drop-down field, that's the new one that I've added here. So if you set it to be a 2, that gives you a drop-down field. Also, the number of rows, if you want smaller or greater number of rows, that's defined here, and that's number 10. I'm going to just set it at 10. One of the things to note is what that is used for down here when we actually set the number, the size of the card, then the number of rows defines the calculations down here. You may find you need to tweak the calculations a little bit based on what your theme is. Your theme may have larger or smaller rows, and so then it may end up using more or less space down here. So you may have to tweak that as well. All right. Now, the other thing I like to do on this is to come in and set the tab order, because I added a new one here. So I'm going to go from first name, last name, and then we'll jump over to the company. So we'll set that to be 3. And that's important because I did add the ability to use keyboard on here. Well, and I forgot to adjust the auto sizing. All right. Okay. So here we've got first name, last name, and when I tab over to the company, you'll see this pop-up window. And intentionally doesn't look like a card. The idea is to make it look like a drop-down window. I can use keys, up and down arrows to go up and down and select, and then enter to select it, and then come back. So now I can tab out of it, and I can tab through either forward or reverse without changing it. And then one of the things that is not built into it is if you want the ability to clear it, you have to add your own clear button. That does not come with it, but that's pretty trivial, just to clear out the company name and ID. So that's the drop-down list. The thing that I do like about it, again, is if I click into it and I search, you can see if I want to look at web keeping solutions, and I just remember that it's solutions, it's going to find it, and I don't have to type in web keeping. I can just type in solutions or XYZ company, and it'll find the XYZ company. And then escape just closes it out without selecting. Any questions on this one before I go to the second option?
Not at the moment.
All right. Well, we're happy to come back. So the next one is saving the parent to the children. So when Calvin created this, he allowed the ability to select multiple off of a screen, off of the search card. When you do that, it would throw all of them into a single field. And I had a scenario where I didn't put all of them into the same field. I wanted to put the parent. So in this case, the company, I wanted to take the company ID and put it in each of the people records or the children records. And so this is the way that you would do that. So again, just grab the add-on, throw it in, and ungroup. And in this case, I've got the save parent to children. The only difference between these two is the script parameters and very minor changes between them. But since they're already pre-configured, I'm going to only use the parent to children. And in this case, all I really need is the button. I don't really need these down here. But in this case, I'm going to change this to link people. And here the script parameter, same script parameter. I've got a couple of different defaults for this particular one. In this case, the search set field is blank. You could have anything you want in there, it just ignores it. But this one's blank because we're not setting the search, we're not setting any field on that layout of the companies. We're actually going to go into the children records and set those. We have the search return field. This is, in this case, it's going to be, we're going to go to the people layout and then update or get the people from the card, and that's what we're going to return as the ID of the people. Search layout ID, in this case, we're going to go to 18, and I need to go back and update that card. And the search window type, in this case, I want to use a card window. I could use a dialog window as well. And those are the only ones. Let me just double check here. I don't think there's any others that I need. No. Okay. So I think I'm set there. So now I'll go to my search window or card. And I need to change the table on this. This one's, in this case, I'm going to be looking for people. And I'll just, and again, this one's got two buttons on here, either a multiple or a group. And so I'm going to hide both of those so I can get access to these. And this one's going to be the first name. And this one's going to be, whoops.
And Stu, I have a question. I know the answer to it. I think it'd be helpful for others. If people are watching this and they go, "This is great," but what if I want to have this this for multiple modules? How do they solve that?
Yeah. So each one of these, if you want to do a different module, you would go into just copy this layout and duplicate it. Or your drop down. So if you want to say you wanted to drop down for companies and for, I don't know, locations, for example, you could just duplicate this and call it locations.
Oh, I don't want to derail you there too much. I just figured some people watching might be asking that.
Yeah, and then what you would note on here is you would have a new layout ID, and make sure that you call the layout ID that you want. So thanks for asking that question. Good point. All right. So I think we're good here. So what we did, this is our search card. We're showing the first and last name. Again, I like to add the ID here on the right so that I can filter on that. Then we'll go back to our layout, and we should be good to go here. And you'll see we can select multiple people. and we can continue. The other thing that I added was the ability to let's say you're searching, you've got two different people, and you can tab over to the records area, and you can use arrows up and down to select, spacebar or enter or tab can select or deselect, and then you tab down to the continue button.
I didn't even know you had that. That's really cool.
That was the latest addition that I added. That was the polishing of the cannonball that I mentioned.
Very, very cool.
And then you've got them there. The one thing that this does not do that I'd like to do for a future enhancement is when you come through and you'll see, hey, I want to deselect Oregon Dean here. It doesn't remove him. The challenge is that what I'll need to do is to figure out, how do I keep track of who was added and who hasn't. I think Nick has done that. I'm sure there's a live stream on where he's done that once before, to keep track of the ones you've deselected and then go in and remove that information. Turning that into an add-on seemed like a bridge too far for this time around, but I may be able to do that in the future. So in that case, I just added a remove person button. A little clunky and not quite as smooth as I would like, but certainly would as an option out there as well. All right, so that's the adding the parent to the children. The other is basically the same thing, but it instead of adding the company to each of these people, it allows you to add a list of people or children to the parent record, which in this case would be the companies. And this is the same thing that Calvin demonstrated back in 2021 in that live stream. So no change there, but just a different way of approaching linking related records. Any questions on how this works? I know I went through it really quickly. I was trying to watch the clock here.
No, you're doing great there. Margaret, do you have any questions there? I want to chime in a couple of things. I want to give other people an opportunity first.
I have a question
I'm
when
muted.
you're selecting multiple people that you're adding to a company, are you changing those people records in the card window, or do you have a post-process script that is handling that?
Let's take a look at that here. So in this case, this is in the continue script, and you'll, for those of you who go back and take a look at Calvin's live stream, these are all, almost all of these are the same. I added, I think, a couple of ones in here, but for the continue script on here, what I'm doing is so I walk through here. Let me just do it this way. Let me pull up the debugger first. All right, and so we'll add David Angel here, and when I continue, I'm pulling up the continue script, and so when I get the script parameter is the ID, the list of IDs of the people. And if we're doing a multiple selection and we are saving to the children, then we go through this. And so what we do is we go into find mode and we just find all of the people by ID, and so we go and select those, and then we just go. Let's see. We set field by name, which this is the search set field, so we're setting it in the card window here because we've got a list of people, and we're just setting the search parent. The search parent ID here to the search set field, which we said was in this case, the people table, the IDF company.
Mm-hmm.
And just loop through it here, presuming you're not going to have too many. And then we close the window. And here we've got a few additional scripts, and I'll jump over to take a look at that in the script parameter as well, because this is an addition to what Calvin did as well. So in these, I did add a few additional locations where you can add script parameters. And I don't have a demo to do these, but there's a few different areas. One is you can do it after you pop up the card window or the drop down. If you have a search that is too complex for a quick find, it allows you to do a custom search, which is the option is here.
Cool.
So if you want to do
that's really handy. I needed something like that. The post searches or the post scripts are also really nice.
Yes, definitely. So I added I added the one to do a custom sort, and then just kind of randomly sprinkled some. Did one at the end of the select script, at the end of the continue script, 2 of them there, and then if you wanted to do one when you hit cancel as well, you could throw a script in there as well. So those are the additional locations there.
Cool. Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Good question.
Thanks. Guys, I think you helped with one of mine too. Hey, did you change the continue script since you sent it to me?
I did not. No.
Maybe because it's interesting. I used the continue script in one of the modules, and while you're chatting there, I was just curious. I can deselect things and it works. So we don't have to figure out in today's stream, but I'm kind of curious what we're doing different, why it works for me and it doesn't work for you. Because that was one of the things I really liked. Also, not super obvious necessarily to people, maybe it is, but those fields that you have off screen for doing the quick finds and filtering is extremely helpful when I'm going and finding contacts for my clients' database. They like to limit the contacts they see by the account or location that they're from. And by putting those foreign key IDs on there, the filter just works, including the quick find search that you have. That's why I thought I was going to need to pass some sort of special script for the searching. I like that you've added that option. But those little filters, search things off the side of the layout, they work really well. And it's a little bit of the more advanced part of it, but again, just really tickled how easily things have come together with this, even some of the more challenging stuff. But outside of the stream, I'll have to look because I like that you can deselect on it. But it might be, there's probably like a little subtle difference between what we're doing.
Yeah, I'll be interested to talk with you offline on that. For folks who are interested in understanding how to do the quick search, Calvin did have that in his original one. And I think he did a pretty good job of explaining how that works and how adding additional parameters to that quick search allows you to control what you're getting back.
Hey, Margaret, do you see the one in Discord from
Yes,
Lynn?
I was just about to ask it. On the drop-down method, are you doing a find or quick find to filter the list? Can you show the scripts?
Sure. So quick answer is all of the finds right now are just quick finds. Like I said, you do have the ability after you pop open either the drop-down field or the card window, either one of those, you do have the option to call another script. So you can do something more advanced than a quick find can do for you, but they are all using the quick finds. So we'll go ahead and go back here and we'll do the debugger. There we go. And so when it pops up, we just kind of walk through it here. And we've got, there is an option to create a new record. That was one that Calvin previously had, so I didn't demo it here, but it allows you to create a new record whenever you throw something in here. Window height is just allows you to limit that if need be. There's popover, whether or not you're calling it the button from a popover and you want to close it. And I'm kind of walking through here. It's been a while since I've looked at this. Let's see. So here we're going to determine which table is to be used. So there is the ability to search a secondary field if you'd like. And Calvin did a great job of demoing that in his live stream. We don't have one in this particular example. And then decide whether you're going to use a card window, or if you are already in a card window, do you need to close it? And then here we look to see which of the different types of windows we've got. We've got card windows, drop-down fields, and then the last one is for a dialog window. And so in this case, we're doing the drop-down field, and it just uses a new window. There is a custom custom function for this that everything is dependent upon the layout ID rather than the name of the layout. And that way you can rename the layout if you'd like. And then we define through the parameter the height, width, top and left. And that pops it open. And so in this case, I don't think I'm actually filtering any of them here. But if there is a predefined search, we could pass that through as a search value. And then, and here we're going through the search scripts, if there is one or not. And this one is the on-object keystroke. So you can pass in and it'll put it in there and then run that as well. So I'll just close that out because I think Lynn's question was here, am I using the quick find? So on here, I am doing the quick find and it's on every keystroke. I think Kristian, you said that on an iPad, it just wasn't snappy enough. So you did it instead of on keystroke, you did it on enter. So the person types out whatever they're looking for, hit enter, and then it would run through.
I think I'll run on exit so you can hit the enter key.
Okay. So in this case, we're doing it on layout keystroke. If we escape, then we're going to close the window. Otherwise, up down changes allows us to go scroll up and down the records. And here we're doing single select. And so then if it's a tab, we're gonna tab off of it. But in this case, all right. Otherwise, we are entering it. And then when you go through that, let's see. I think I blew by it, but yes, it is using a quick find to filter those out. One of the things to note, there is in the script itself, in order to maximize performance, if there's more than 50 records, then we'll skip over whether or not we're going to sort them. And I'll show the sort script as well. But in this case, I didn't, you'll see the sort order is invalid because I haven't set that up. But after you type, it redoes the sort as well. And that may be what's causing the performance hit on the iPad. And then here's the new search as well, or the new parameter.
And to be clear, I've had the latency issue with the on object trigger, not just with your file, but most on the iPad. I've almost always had to do the on exit version.
Okay. And then after it's done searching, then we come back up and get ready for the next one. So hopefully that answers Lynn's question.
Calvin made it back here. Calvin's Zoom got upset with him and kicked him out of the presentation.
Yeah, I restarted the.
It's temperamental.
All right. Well, I'm hoping that people find this helpful. And if anybody's got feedback, happy to bring back any feedback you've got. One of the other things I will mention is, as I've dropped this into different solutions, is sometimes you get some wonkiness because of the themes that are applied, and so you may have to make some adjustments to layouts and whatnot. But I think that's generally true of most add-ons. If there are some, what I found is that if you've had some very specific customizations to the objects on the layout, it will remember that. But that comes at a performance hit. If it's just using the default, it looks fine in the add-on, but it will inherit all the default information off of the solution that you're dropping it into, and it may look really, really poor. So you may have to tweak some of the layout settings based on what your theme is.
Yeah, and what I always try to remind people, because people sometimes will be like, well, the add-on thing doesn't work, or it's got all these funky little things. And my perspective on it, and this falls up from the stream I had last week, is what breaks the least amount of stuff for us? If we wanted to go add this thing that you built modularly, the amount of time it would take versus fixing a couple visual issues, I'd rather fix the visual issues all day. And frankly, even with yours, my customer's solution just looks a little bit different from the add-on, even though the add-on's beautiful. So what I did for my client is I took that initial layout that Stu had, customized it to fit their theme and look, and then I duplicated that one for all the other modules, so they all had the same look to it. So even if it had some broken stuff when I installed it, at this point I've forgotten what those things were. But I'm also kind of used to, with every add-on I install, there's some usual little visual defect, and it's usually, in the scheme of things, kind of minor. But I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I will tend to forget that, and then people reach out and they're like, hey, Calvin's got the duplicated buttons, or whatever it is on yours with little search thing. And then David had a follow-up question. I don't know if you...
it's more of a conversation between him and Kyle.
Okay.
So that's why I haven't mentioned
Oh,
it.
I think they're just talking about the speed of the searches.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But Stu, if we send you a bunch of feedback and you make a new version, you find new stuff, you're going to come join us again?
Oh, whatever you need. Happy to help.
We appreciate having you on here. Seriously, thank you very much, Kristian, Calvin, and Stu. It's been lovely having you on today. I think I'm going to wrap up and launch us into the end credits.
Well, hey, thanks everybody. Stu, real thank you for coming out and showing this off today. Hopefully we do have you again in the future.
All right, thanks, Kristian.
Everyone have a lovely day.
And thank you, Calvin, whose Zoom crashed on him again.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!